Okay, hey everybody, this is Jim, and this is just a short video to let you guys know that I have a new audiobook out, and I would very much appreciate it if you guys would all go check it out. It's over on Audible. There will be a link in the description. It's called the Kimbridge Chronicles number 8, Replicants, and it's very, very good. Lots of great characters. It's really kick-ass action science fiction. So if you're a fan of something like Star Trek or Farscape or what's the other one? Babylon 5, you'll absolutely love this shit, and you'll get to hear me do a bunch of silly fucking voices and all kinds of stuff. So no sound effects. It is an audiobook, but I think that you guys will really, really fucking enjoy it. So I'm doing this little promo for YouTube, and as soon as I'm done talking here, you will hear a sample. I think it's the first chapter or so, something like that. I'm recording this before I'm editing the thing. I'm just kind of shooting from the hip here. But yeah, as soon as I'm done talking, you guys will hear an audio sample of the book, so you guys can go check it out. It'll be in the description. Thank you all very much for listening. I love you all very much, and I hope that you all will enjoy the audiobook. Peace out. Chapter 1. Bad News. Personal Log. 2487 was the year the Yorktown Task Force brought the Replicant War home to the Ashtoreth. Our enemy was faster, stronger, and more ruthless than we were. In the end, none of those things mattered. We were willing to die, repeatedly, for what was right and just. In the end, light always wins out over the darkness. It seemed the only thing in the universe that traveled faster than the speed of light was bad news. Lord Captain Asdartu, brother of King Astarte, was sure the great creator took pleasure in his distress. The battle to sanitize the Hupinstani situation was to have been a rout, and indeed it was, but for the wrong side. It was bad enough that it took only 3 GCP starships to face down and destroy 14 Ashtoreth Empire ships. But, to add insult to injury, the enemy was not seriously damaged. In fact, they lost only a handful of attack fighters. Their victory over the Empire was made complete when somehow they managed to deflect Asdartu's flagship, which had been deliberately set on a collision course with the Hupinstani homeworld. The mass of the ship and the speed at which it was traveling should have ensured an extinction-level collision event occurred. But it was not to be. An engineer from the doomed A.E. Dorkra managed to make it into an escape pod. When he was revived on the homeworld, he carried with him the news of Asdartu's utter and complete failure. To say his brother, the king, was displeased was an understatement. The very first act King Astarte undertook when he heard of the defeat was to kill every servant in the room. He then revived each one and killed them again. When at last his bloodlust was sated, he called for his brother. Asdartu had attempted 3 times to explain the reason for his failure. Moments into each attempt, his brother would kill him in a fit of rage. The palace's physicians would replicate a new body for Asdartu, and the cycle would begin again. This was the 4th time he was entering the throne room this day with his hands shackled. The physicians were already prepping a replacement body should the king kill the one he was currently wearing yet again.
"Well, my beloved brother Lord Captain Asdartu, tell me again this tale of woe, wherein 14 of our finest ships were defeated by 3 ancient galactic coalition vessels. Tell me again how under your august leadership this tragedy befell us." "My lord and king,"
Asdartu began, and then paused. His brother had picked up a sword already. It seemed the physicians would indeed be needing that replacement body. Kat and Jason walked along a nearly deserted sidewalk in the center of what would become the restaurant district of the newly built Marine City. The Marines had taken to calling it the MC. The two walked hand in hand. It seemed like it had been years since they had been able to put aside their duties to the Galactic Coalition of Planets and simply be 2 people in love. The restaurant they were headed to was one of only 3 currently open. Kat looked up through the clear domed ceiling that covered the 70-square-kilometer city. Wimpy had been busy. Construction nanites were still finishing the interiors of many of the buildings, some of which were 10 stories high. 90 days. This had all been done in 90 days. Jason squeezed her hand softly. A penny for your thoughts. She shifted her gaze to his face. His once jet-black hair had just a hint of gray at the temples. Command had a way of aging people. I was thinking that this is probably the fastest an entire city has ever been built. I know it's a military base, but I expect there will be families here. I wonder what it will be like for children to grow up with this for a view. Jason chuckled. You're laughing at me. Why? I was laughing, Jason said, because I had a similar thought not 2 minutes ago. We grew up on Earth. When we looked at the night sky, we saw the same constellations every night. I remember thinking they were my friends, thinking that I would wander among them someday. Those familiar stars shaped who I am. The kids that grow up here will see incredible things. But the stars will change with every deployment. Kat finished for him. Exactly, Jason agreed. I wonder how that will affect their perception of home and humanity. They will truly be children of the stars, Kat whispered. The restaurant they had reservations at was just up ahead. Jason guided her to a seat near the holographic band that was playing something that was retro country. The restaurant, Teddy Peters, specialized in smoked salmon. Fish tissue was one of the easiest to grow in a vat synthetically. She supposed the process was not completely dissimilar to what was used in the biogenerators for the Infinity Brigade Marines. I'm still amazed that the city administrator was able to get an interplanetary chain like Teddy Peters to move in so fast, Jason commented as the waitress handed them menus. Kat smirked. I think the special considerations we were able to offer in terms of no BCI and free use of a custom-built facility might have played a part. The Bureau of Commerce Investigation, or BCI, was the taxation wing of the Galactic Coalition of Planets. They had not existed in Kat's earlier timeline. She suspected they might be a construct introduced by the Ashtoreth as part of their long-term plan for destabilizing the GCP. On the other hand, organizations tended to creep into every human society given enough time for that society to generate a self-sustaining bureaucracy. She supposed it was part of humanity's fallen nature. Before they could order, another couple arrived at the restaurant. Lieutenant Commander A.G. Stone and Dr. Janice Pulaski. They went to sit at another table, but Jason, with Kat's approval, waved them over. We have plenty of room over here if you're interested in joining us. We would be delighted, Commodore, Janice said warmly. Kat smiled as the two seated themselves. It's been a long day, after a long week, after a long month. Let's agree to put titles and ranks aside for the evening and just be four friends enjoying each other's company. Sounds like a good deal to me, A.G. said as he grabbed a spoon and started ladling smoked fish spread on a saltine cracker. So, how goes work on the new training facility? Jason asked A.G. With a mouth half filled with cracker, the large Marine sighed. Could be better. Could be worse. The gym and firing range are stellar. We can adjust the gravity and atmospheric conditions to match the world we are to operate in. The obstacle course is my biggest problem. Why? Jason asked. Janice shook her head. Because our boys and girls know that we can always bioprint a new body for them. They keep setting the system parameters to max out the difficulty. It seems to be a point of pride to see how far they can get without being killed. Jason looked confused. And why is this a problem? Janice looked at him with eyes wide open. Why? Because they keep killing themselves. Not really, Jason said with a quizzical look. I mean, if they know they can be revived in a biogenerator, why not train hard? There's a saying, hard training equals easy mission. He turned to AG. How are their performance reviews? Top-notch, across the board. And it's not just the augments. The norms are doing better as well. Kat leaned forward. Augments? Norms? AG explained. Augments are those troops that have gone through the biogenerators. I'm an augment. Norms are those troops who have not died in duty or training exercises yet. How many of each do you have? Kat asked out of curiosity. Of the 1,000 or so troops we currently have on base, roughly 900 are augments and the rest are norms, AG admitted. That many? Kat gasped in astonishment. This is what I mean. Janice said in a vindicated tone. I've had to process several of them 4 or 5 times. Who are the worst offenders? Kat asked. Janice just looked at AG in frustration. The big man shrugged. I lead best from the front, what can I say? Jason shook his head. You may want to rethink that, big guy. 2 reasons. You can't be everywhere, so you need leaders with experience leading. Second, it takes time to make a shake-and-bake soldier. Time when your head is in a jar and not in a body. That's when you are not leading. Thank you, Janice said smugly.
Yeah, a certain doctor might have said something like that to me recently.
AG said sheepishly. So, Kat interrupted, you said that 100 are norms. What's the story with them?
Most are new recruits. That first big D is the toughest, but most newbies see what the augments are capable of doing and arrange their own aggressive training schedules. The lion's share usually augments by the end of the first month.
And by aggressive, you mean high-risk profiles? Jason asked.
Marines are, by their very nature, adrenaline junkies,
AG responded by way of explanation. The waitress came back and they ordered their meals. When the young woman left, they continued their conversation. So, who are your holdouts? How many of those that have been here for the full 3 months are still norms? Kat asked. AG scratched his head and looked uncomfortable.
Only one. My staff sergeant, J.J. Hammond.
Jeremy James? Kat said in astonishment. He's about as reckless and crazy a Marine as I've ever met. He's afraid of the big D?
Just the opposite, AG admitted. He's just a lot better at living than dying.
Meaning? Jason asked. Meaning, Janice said, he's been run over, blown up, done a combat jump where he somehow forgot to wear his parachute, and there is always enough left to put him back together.
And boy was he pissed when he woke up after the jump with a nanocast on his right leg. He peeled the paint off the walls of the med bay with the stuff coming out of his mouth.
AG added with an amused smirk. Charming, Janice said dryly.
Actually, AG said, it's a crying shame. His performance numbers are almost at augment levels and he's still a norm. Can you imagine what he'd be like if he got a chance to go through the biogenerator?
Janice just shook her head in disgust.